Yes, hello everyone. Welcome to this 12th International Conference on Learning, Analytics and Knowledge. This year again online, the third year in a row. It would have been really, really nice to see you all in California. Hopefully we'll get to see each other face to face again next year. But this year we'll celebrate this third online LAK again. We have great things coming up. I hope you already enjoyed your first day, 2 days of workshops. And this year, the theme of the conference is Learning Analytics for Transition, Disruption, and Social Change. So if you could go to the next slide. Yeah, again, so this is the welcome. I hope everyone can hear me fine. You can see me fine. I hope you have already explored our Hoover platform a bit. You'll get some more information on that in a little bit later on today. And with this, I'm not going to take away much from the organizers of this conference. But before I pass on to them, I would like to thank our sponsor this year. We have one sponsor, and this is University of Texas, Arlington, the Master of Science in Learning Analytics from the Department of Psychology, and they are our gold sponsor this year. So a very, very big thank you to them. And with this, I would like to pass on to the chairs of this year's conference. And this is Alyssa, Isabel, and Roberto.
So in this slide, you can see the LAK22 team. And first, I would like to thank our organizing committee for making this possible. Grace, Nicole, Jacqueline, Mark, and Mia. Thank you very much for your work.
Thank you, Isabel. I also want to take this opportunity to thank you, as well as Roberto Martinez Maldonado, who can't be with us right now because of some challenges with jet lag and time zone, as well as the so many wonderful chairs who have done such great work this entire year getting this conference ready. Our practitioner chairs, Ishan Tai and Mingyu Feng, our workshop chairs, Alejandra Martinez Monez, Olga Weberg, and Rafael Ferreira Melo, and our poster and demo chairs, Shan Doradi and Elizabeth Koh.
Yes, and we also have our doctoral consortium chairs, Michael Brown, Dragan Gasevich, Elena Jovanovic, and Sasha Pocket. Our proceeding chairs that have a lot of work with ACM, Hassan, and Abinava, and also our webs manager and our publicity person who were in charge of dissemination and getting you all informed, Yancy and Yijo. So in this slide, you can see the number of registration in our across the years. And as you can see, it's slightly lower in 2022. And this might be partly explained by the fact of Zoom fatigue or other reasons. Still, there are two things that are worthy of celebrating. One is that during our pre-conference, we had the largest number of workshop participants ever this year, with 557 workshop participants compared to last year that was just 494 now. It was still a high number, but we overcome that number. Also, another thing to celebrate is that, as you can see, it's a significant proportion of first-timers. This chart shows that it's almost 50% of our registered participants is a first-timer. So if you're an old-timer and you get to meet first-timers in our roundtable or throughout the conference, make sure that you make them feel welcomed. This chart shows how registered participants are distributed among different regions. As you can see, there is a significant proportion of people coming from North America and Europe. But what this chart hides is that there is a diversity within each region. And also in our community, there is a lot of movement across regions. So there is people from different regions that might have moved from one region to another. So in a way, we are reaching further geographical spread. This chart shows how our registered participants distribute according to their role and the organization that they are affiliated. And we still see a predominant number of people coming from the higher education sector, but an interesting trend is that PhD students, the proportion of PhD students is higher even than their professors. So a shout out to those PhD students that are joining in this opening session. Then here you can see how the number of submissions has evolved with the passage of time. As we saw these registrations, there was a slight decrease compared to last year, but there is really quality work that has been nicely distributed in our conference schedule. Then here, you can see the acceptance rate per year. The size of each dot shows the number of papers as accepted per year. And this year, the overall acceptance rate was 29.5%, while the acceptance rates for full and short paper tracks were 32.8 and 25.3 respectively. This is also a nice way to see our geographical spread. So this slide shows the number of authors per country. We can see that these purple color signals that higher participation is starting to spread, what is exciting for our field. And let me share with you this video. This video shows how authorship has evolved throughout the years in LAK. And the color notes show, indicate the first year that the author participated in LAK. So as you can see, people start coming and joining throughout the years. And it keeps growing. So this year we have 183 new authors, and we expect this to keep growing with the passage of time. Okay. In this other slide, you can see it's a simple visualization of different topics. Each topic, like the topics depend on what you selected when you submitted the paper to EasyChair. So a paper could have had more than one topic. Still, there are some topics that pop up. Color is just decorative, but you can see that, for example, there is some papers that are addressing, well, the higher education sector, feedback, or assessing student learning. And also, because of having all this nice data about the work that is going to be presented throughout the LAK, we want to thank Javier Ochoa from NYU Learn for all the analytics and the graphs. And with this, I will give the baton to Alisa.
Thank you so much, Isabel. I think Isabel has nicely illustrated both some of the past of our conference and also that the future is really bright. I think given the events of the last 2 years, the fact that we still are seeing so many of you wonderful people joining us, writing papers, that we see a huge growth of new attendees, that we see so many students coming, and that we see how the community is growing and connecting, there's a lot to be optimistic about and look forward to for the future of our community. We're going to shift now to take a little brief look at LAK through the years, and here you can see a map of where the LAKs have happened, certainly similar to the participation, many in North America, but also a nice number over in Europe, and as you see, the one over in Australia. The purple ones are the ones that we've had virtually, and we hope to be returning to something that involves for face-to-face participation in the future. And while this shows where we've been, you might also ask where we're going. And certainly there's other regions of the world, Isabel, you can go ahead to the next slide, that might be a place where we could meet next year. You'll have to stay tuned till Friday to find out the answer. There's certainly nothing on this graph that would let you know. We also wanted to take a look at the themes, and starting in LAK 13, the conference has had themes each year, and we thought it was maybe a useful and instructive exercise to take a look at what these themes have been. And there's a couple of themes within the themes. This is getting very meta. Isabel, if you go ahead, you can see that as an interdisciplinary community, we've had a lot of thoughts about how this happens. So we've talked over the years quite reflexively about the convergence of communities, the intersection of research theory and practice, as well as the dialectics of how we meet together in the middle space between learning and analytics and shaping the future of the field. So I think you could make the argument that our field has been, since the start, quite reflexive about who we are, how we come together, and where we're going, which as people who are involved in learning and know about metacognition can see the value. There's a second theme across here, which is that of impact. And I think that's really important to highlight. And you can see it's not just recent, going all the way back to LAK15, that we've had this questions we've been asking is not just how do we develop interesting analytics, but what difference are they making in the world? In addition to the word impact that shows up 3 times, there's a couple of other words. You can go ahead, Isabel. And we can see, we think about what that impact means in terms of improving learning, inclusion, and success. And in the more recent years, if we go forward, you can see a focus particularly on humans. So we had a focus on user-centered analytics, and this year, a focus on social change. So not only thinking about ourselves, but thinking about the world we operate in, that we come to with our work, and how it makes a difference. So if we go ahead to focus on the theme for this year, learning analytics for transition, disruption, and social change, those are 3 words that we chose to think about possible modalities of the ways that learning analytics might be making a difference. How is it moving things forward? How is it changing things up? And how is it contributing to differences that we think are important and matter? So taking that theme, if we go ahead to the next slide, we wanted to give you a little inside peek into how we're thinking about the 3 very exciting keynotes that we have this year. And we have imagined them together in a bit of a triangle where certainly learning and analytics are present. It is the Learning Analytics Conference. And the third leg is this notion of transition, disruption, and social change. So later today, we'll hear from Lori Santamaria, who you see up in the top left of your slide, at the intersection of learning and social change, talking about the JEDI LAK educational interface, where learning and justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion can come together, and how that's going to matter for our field and how we might start thinking about that in our work. Then tomorrow, at the bottom, we have Catherine D'Ignacio looking at the intersection of social change and analytics, asking the question, what does feminist data science look like, and why is that important? What can it offer our field? Finally, in the top right on Friday, we'll have our final keynote, Pierre Dillenberg, and he's going to be looking really at the core center of learning and analytics, and many of you may be familiar with his work already, classroom analytics for smoothing orchestration. And in this work, he's taking us beyond just thinking about analytics of the individual and looking at the classroom level. So altogether, we hope to have 3 different takes on how these ideas of learning analytics and social change come together for the conference theme. Going ahead, Isabel. We invite you to keep the conference theme in mind. Obviously, there's lots of great work at this conference people have been doing for years, and not every paper is necessarily focused on the theme, but we think it might be useful to think about with yourself and maybe discuss with others the intersection of the theme with the different pieces of work, because you could argue that that's something that's really useful to do for every paper. So we ask you to think about, how does this learning analytics work contribute to transforming learning experiences to better benefit all students? How does the learning analytics work at the conference contribute to disrupting problematic practices? And how does it contribute to social change towards more just and equitable learning environments? We've created a special discussion forum in HOVA, and there'll be other opportunities to come together and talk about these questions throughout the next few days. And going ahead, what are the, yep, just right there. What are the sessions you're going to get a chance to go to? I wanted to highlight, we have sessions with themes this year, which is a very exciting thing, and it's a big thanks to Nicole, who is a wizard with the calendar, working across many time zones to put these together. This is something that's been very hard in the online format, but we have this year. So I thought I wanted to highlight for you the themes of the sessions, maybe get you excited about some things you haven't thought about going to but might enjoy. So we have a bunch of sessions on frameworks and theories, including metacognition, self-regulated learning, collaborative learning, and systematic reviews. Moving forward, we have a whole lot of sessions on ways to analyze and understand learning through data, including looking at multimodal analytics, analytics positions and movement, things to do with text, NLP, and student languages, models of student learning, timing, networks, and factors affecting student success. Beyond just analysis, if we go forward, there's also a bunch of sessions on tools to help people make data-informed decisions related to feedback, visual representation, recommender systems, dashboard design, and more. Finally, we have sessions related to people and impact, which really brings us back to the conference theme nicely, thinking about human-centered learning analytics, participatory design, implementation, use, ethical considerations, K-12, and inclusion, equity, and interaction. We hope you enjoy exploring both the ones you've already planned and maybe some new ones you're thinking about. When the conference concludes, or perhaps during this week, if you're a very overachieving person, you might want to be looking at the proceedings. So if we go ahead to the proceedings, you probably have seen some of the tweets. There's 2 proceedings for this conference. The ACM proceedings, which has the research full and short papers, is openly available through the ACM Digital Library all week, and the papers will remain available to conference attendees through the Solar website following the conference. In addition, we have the companion proceedings where we have all of the other great stuff. We have the posters, the doctoral consortium, the workshops, what am I forgetting? And the practitioner track that are there, and you can access that through the Solar website at all times. It's a great way to follow up on the things you hear in the conference with reading the very carefully written work afterwards. And just to point out, the LAK proceedings, the ACM proceedings, as you can see here, it's actually number 12 in the ranking of educational technology journals, which is very impressive. I think we're the only conference in the top 12. And as Maren has pointed out, the ACM papers are available to everyone through the Solar website, not just attendees. Thank you. And I think with that, that hopefully gives you some reasons to be excited about what's going on, but how are you going to access the conference, especially for the new people? Nicole is going to take over and tell you some of the more practical details that you'll need to know this week.